My name is Ben Page. I am the neighborhood leader for Urban Eagles in the Grier Heights community. So I came to the Eagles in 2008 as a player on the pro team. I came here because it was a pro contract at first. I came to the Eagles as a soccer player that just happened to be a Christian. And over the first kind of couple years I was here as a player, my whole mentality shifted to being a missionary that happened to be a soccer player. So as we got started, we had soccer practice once a week. And we took the guys that he already knew, and then they started inviting their friends. And so the relationship started. So we had these guys that basically were just hungry for love. They were hungry for a place to be, and we were there. We now have 50 young men that are a part of what we call our Urban Eagles family. And of those 50, 43 of them are fatherless. And that just creates, one, in a community, a sense of maybe lack of purpose, lack of identity, because the role of a father is to speak identity and purpose into their children. The first few practices we had, and there were 3 or 4 fights that we would have every practice. I remember a moment when Mitch and I looked at each other one practice when one of these fights was about to break out. Before the kid hit the other kid, he paused. So Mitch came over to me after that moment and was like, "Did you see that?" I was like, "Yeah, that kid punched another kid in the face." He's like, "No, man, like, yeah, that did happen, but he paused before he did it." And what he was saying was the kid had a different option in his mind. He didn't choose it, but there was a different option where that option wasn't there weeks ago. When you preach love, forgiveness, and hope, just like Jesus, he offered us a different option. About 4 years ago, as these leaders are rising up, we felt a real desire and need to intentionally equip them for their call to being leaders. And we started a leadership development program. And it's a really neat dynamic that we have to be able to have these young men that are ages, 7 to 11, having coaches that live next door to them. And so all of a sudden you have a dynamic where instead of the kids only having one option to look up to when they're 16, 17, 18, the guy on the corner, now they have a different option. They're still the guys on the corner, they can choose that, but they also have coaches that live next door to them that are in school, following Jesus, walking with character. I had a young man the other day, and I asked him who his favorite coach was, and he says, Coach Ryan, Coach Duran. And these are kids, these aren't adults necessarily, these are 17 and 18-year-old high school students that they live next door to. And they're their favorite coaches. They're the ones they look up to. And I can't think of a more powerful statement for that kid to make. The person that he most looks up to is the teenager that lives next door to him. My hope and prayer is pretty simple. I've always prayed that we'd see praises to the Lord Jesus out of every home. And that we would see young men come to know who they were created to be and become world changers. I do what I do because I want to see God do the impossible. I want to break free of the mentality that God only does small things, but when we pray big things, God can transform even entire communities. The thing is, I'm nothing special. I'm a guy that walked into a community with a soccer ball. I don't have any super special talents or gifts. I'm just here, I'm available. The real world changers are the kids. I tell our young leaders all the time that they're my heroes. They've overcome a lot of things to become the leaders that they are, and they've become change agents in their own community. So instead of it just being a guy with a calling, I get to be a part of a movement of the Spirit, and we're seeing young men and our coaches come into the greater knowledge of who they're created to be.